There is a stirring in the invisible. You may not see it with your natural eyes, but you feel it. The atmosphere is shifting. The familiar world is starting to crack. Time feels accelerated, and the things that once satisfied no longer do. This is not your imagination. It is the call to vanish, but not in the way the world expects. This is not about disappearing into the sky. It is about ascending in consciousness, stepping into a dimension that was always here, just hidden from the sleeping mind. The chosen are not vanishing from the earth is vanishing from them. For those marked by God, this moment was written into your being before time began. You were sent into this world not to be conformed to it, but to outgrow it. You were placed here to awaken, to shake off the illusion of separation, of limitation, of fear, and to remember who you are. You've felt it for years, the loneliness, the disconnection, the knowing that you don't belong here. That inner ache was not punishment, it was preparation. It was God himself stirring you, shaking you, readying you for a departure not of the body, but of the mind, a vanishing of old identity, a dissolving of the false earth. A rising into the kingdom within. Everything around you is being rearranged. Institutions are crumbling. Systems are breaking. Voices of deception grow louder. Why? Because something greater is trying to be born. But before the new earth can be seen, you must vanish from the old one. This is the hour of separation, not from people, but from patterns, not from location, but from limitation, not from the planet, but from the prison. You were not chosen to survive, you were chosen to transform, and when the inner world changes, the outer world cannot help but follow. The earth, as you know it, is about to change forever, and God is calling his chosen ones to rise, to remember, and to vanish into the truth. The vanishing is an inner ascension before it is an outer disappearance. The world imagines vanishing as a grand and dramatic disappearance, people suddenly gone, swept into the skies while others are left behind. But the truth is deeper, quieter, and infinitely more powerful. The real vanishing begins not with the body, but with the mind. It is not about being taken away, it is about rising within. When you awaken to who and what you truly are, the old world begins to dissolve before your eyes. Its rules no longer apply, its fears no longer govern you, its noise grows silent. You don't leave the earth, you transcend the illusion it rests upon. God is not preparing to pluck you from the earth like a fearful escape. He is lifting your perception above the fog of confusion. You are not being removed, you are being revealed, revealed to yourself, revealed to the world. The veil between spirit and matter is thinning, and those chosen by God are starting to perceive what others cannot. This is the vanishing, to see clearly what was once hidden, to live from truth while others cling to shadow, to walk in divine authority while the world still runs in panic. The earth you once knew begins to fall away, not because it's being destroyed, but because you are no longer feeding it with belief. The suffering world only exists because of the energy and attention of unconscious minds. When your consciousness is renewed, when your inner eye opens, the grip of this illusion begins to weaken. This is why the scripture says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." The transformation is internal. The disappearance is mental. You vanish not by running, but by ascending to the level of truth that cannot be touched by lies. The chosen are not escapists. They are architects of a new world. But before they can build the new, they must lose all attachment to the old. This is why God often strips the chosen. He allows confusion, he permits loss, he dismantles false foundations, not because he's cruel, but because he must remove every weight that anchors you to the illusion. You thought it was punishment, but it was permission, permission to rise, permission to let go, permission to awaken. At first you'll feel the tearing away. It hurts to lose what you once leaned on, but then something deeper awakens. A sense of peace begins to rise, not tied to any circumstance, but rooted in the awareness of your eternal identity. You start to realize that nothing outside you can complete you, because completeness has always lived within. This is the moment you begin to vanish, not physically, but vibrationally. You step out of the frequency of fear, and fear loses its grip. You step out of the vibration of lack, and provision finds you. You step out of the realm of striving, and you begin to be. The vanishing is spiritual maturity. It is the journey inward to the kingdom that has always been within reach. though buried under years of programming. It is the return to the place of divine imagination, where your thoughts no longer respond to the conditions around you, but shape the reality that emerges before you. You no longer react, you create. You no longer conform, you command. You no longer follow, you flow. This is not about pretending the world doesn't exist. It's about understanding it for what it is. The visible world is only a shadow of inner belief. It is a projection, a mirror of collective thought. When you withdraw your belief in fear, lack, war, division, and separation, you no longer energize the false. You stop feeding the dream of death, and you begin feeding the truth of life. That is what it means to vanish. The old system can no longer detect you. It cannot label you, define you, or bind you, because you've exited its frequency. Others may still see you with their eyes, but they won't know what to do with you. You won't respond to fear. You won't submit to panic. You won't play their games of power and control. You will be in the world, but no longer of it. The true vanishing is invisible. It's when your spirit no longer matches the patterns of this age. The ones chosen by God are shifting their allegiance from the seen to the unseen, from the temporary to the eternal, from effort to rest. You will start to notice that what used to shake you no longer does. The arguments, the distractions, the noise of culture, it all begins to sound distant, like a dream you've finally awakened from, and that's exactly what it is. The old earth is not dying, it is being outgrown. The ones who vanish are not gone. They have simply awakened into the new dimension, the higher awareness, the realm where heaven and earth touch. While others cling to what is passing, the chosen step boldly into what is eternal. You must not resist this shift. Don't fight for the world God is asking you to leave behind in spirit. Don't mourn the systems that are falling. Don't try to explain your transformation to those who are not yet ready to hear. You are not being arrogant. You are being obedient. When God calls you to rise, don't hesitate. When He invites you to step beyond the veil, don't negotiate. To vanish is to obey. To vanish is to trust. To vanish is to surrender completely to the inner voice that has always guided you, even through silence. This vanishing will not be televised. It won't make headlines. It won't even be recognized by those still asleep. But it will mark the greatest shift in human history. Not because buildings collapse or systems fail, but because a people, chosen by God, have awakened to their divine origin and now walk in the light of a kingdom that cannot be shaken. So don't wait for the trumpet in the sky. Don't look to the stars for your exit. Your rising is already happening. The door is open. The world is changing. And you, chosen by God, are about to vanish from the realm of illusion and appear fully in the realm of truth. Welcome to the ascension within. The true earth is waiting. And it recognizes you. Chosen by God, get ready to vanish. The earth is about. You were marked for this long before you were born, before your feet ever touched the dust of this earth, before your name was ever called by human lips. You were chosen. Not by man, not by bloodline, but by the Spirit that forms all things. Your journey did not begin at birth. Your life is not a random sequence of events. You were marked, stamped with divine purpose, before time ever opened its eyes. And though you entered this world veiled in forgetfulness, the seal of God has never left you. There is something different about the chosen ones. You have always known it, even when you tried to deny it. Even when you longed to be normal, to blend in, to disappear into the crowd. You couldn't. You never truly fit. The world called it awkward, misfit, sensitive, rebellious, but it was never rebellion. It was remembrance. You were remembering something others could not see. You carried a knowing that this world, as it is not the whole of reality. Even when you didn't have the words, your spirit knew. It recognized the lie in what was presented as truth. This inner knowing is not pride, it is not arrogance, it is spiritual memory. You were marked for awakening, for ascension, for transition from illusion to truth. And to ensure that you would not get lost in the noise of the world, God planted within you a seed, an ache, a discomfort, a divine dissatisfaction that would not let you settle. That's why relationships failed. That's why careers collapsed. That's why paths that worked for others crumbled beneath your feet. You weren't being punished. You were being preserved from getting too comfortable in a world that is passing away. Even in your darkest seasons, God never forgot who you were. Even when you cursed your journey, when you wandered in confusion, when you made choices you thought disqualified you, your destiny remained intact. You could not outrun your calling. You could not erase the imprint of eternity from your soul. There were moments you should have died, but didn't. Times you should have lost your mind, but didn't, because you were marked. God was not waiting for you to be perfect. He was waiting for you to remember, and now you are remembering. Bit by bit, the illusion is cracking. You are seeing through the false scripts handed down to you. The religion of fear, the systems of control, the culture of conformity. You were placed in this world not to follow its rules, but to awaken others by your very being. You didn't come to participate in its decay. You came to carry the blueprint of a higher realm within you. That's why you've never been able to fully attach. That's why the things that satisfy others leave you feeling empty. You weren't built for this version of Earth. You came to usher in the next. Being chosen doesn't mean ease. It means endurance. It means walking through fire and not being burned. It means losing everything you thought defined you so that you might discover the power that truly does. It means being misunderstood, sometimes even hated, because your very presence disrupts illusions. It means carrying light in a world that prefers darkness. In doing it anyway, the mark on your life has cost you. But everything you lost was making room for what cannot be taken from you. Do you not see the pattern? Your whole life has been a divine setup. Every delay was protection. Every detour was direction. Every betrayal was redirection. The heartbreak, the isolation, the wilderness. It was not to destroy you. It was to strip you of what cannot enter the next realm. For where you are going, fear cannot follow. Pride cannot enter, ego cannot ascend. You had to be empty to be filled, broken to be reformed, separated to be sanctified. God did not choose you to be a spectator of change. He chose you to become the change. You are not here to wait for the world to shift. You are the shift. Your very presence in the earth at this time is evidence that heaven has a plan. And though you may feel small, unnoticed, or unqualified, the unseen realm knows your name. The forces of darkness have fought you not because you're weak, but because of what you carry. They saw your mark even when you didn't, and now you're beginning to see it too. You no longer apologize for your difference. You embrace it. You no longer hide your sensitivity. You realize it is a radar for truth. You no longer deny your visions, your dreams, your inner voice. You recognize it as the whisper of God calling you deeper. The world has tried to define you by its standards, but now you reject those definitions. You were not born to fit in. You were born to reveal. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the hour to rise. Not in arrogance, but in certainty. The certainty that you were placed here by divine design, that you were woven together with intention, that everything about you, your story, your scars, your strengths, was prepared for this very moment. You don't need validation. You have a mission. You don't need approval. You have an assignment. The vanishing is near, but it is not random. It is reserved for those who have awakened to their true nature. And you are waking up. You are remembering that you were chosen, not because of your strength, but because of your surrender, not because of your perfection, but because of your willingness to be remade. You are remembering the voice that spoke your name before the foundations of the world. And that voice is speaking again, now louder than ever, calling you to rise, to release, and to return. Return to the kingdom within. Return to the awareness that death is an illusion. Return to the knowing that heaven is not coming. It's already here, waiting for you to see it. You were not meant to stay hidden. You were not meant to stay broken. You were not meant to stay asleep. You were marked, and the moment has come. Get ready to vanish, not from the world, but from its systems, not from your body, but from your bondage, not from people, but from the programming that blinded you. The earth is about to change forever, and the chosen are already rising. The earth you know is a shadow. What's coming is unseen, but real. The earth you know is not the final version. It is a shadow, a projection, a passing vapor. It feels permanent because your senses have been trained to trust only what they can touch. But what your senses call real is only the echo of something deeper, something eternal. You are walking through a dream world that responds not to physical laws, but to the deeper law of consciousness. And the time has come to wake from the dream. The shadow is fading, the real is approaching. What is this shadow earth? It is the collective manifestation of limited minds, minds bound by fear, by doubt, by separation. It is a realm where the outer appears to dominate the inner, where form seems more powerful than spirit. It is the illusion of control, the mask of survival, the game of hierarchy. It teaches you to labor for what you already possess. It conditions you to seek outside what has always lived within, but it is not real in the ultimate sense. It is temporary, changeable, a reflection that dissolves the moment light floods the room, and now the light is flooding in. The chosen ones are beginning to see through the veil, not with their physical eyes, but with their inner sight. They are realizing that this version of Earth was never meant to be the final destination. It was the training ground, the womb of awakening. You were sent here not to preserve the illusion, but to pierce it. And once you see the shadow for what it is, you can no longer bow to it. You stop worshipping appearances. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing loss, because you realize that everything visible is rooted in the invisible. And the invisible is where true power lies. What is coming is not merely a change of scenery. It is a change of dimension. A shift in consciousness so profound that the very structure of reality will bend to accommodate it. Those who remain bound to the shadow will experience fear and collapse, but those who are rising will experience clarity and transformation. To the blind, the world will seem to fall apart, but to the awakened, the truth will finally come together. The real earth is not made of bricks and concrete. It is made of frequency, vibration, intention. It is not something you go to. It is something you rise into. That's why the vanishing is not about physical disappearance. It's about ascending to the frequency where the shadow cannot follow. You are not waiting for a spaceship. You are not waiting for a rupture in the sky. The rupture is already happening within you. The systems that used to control your mind are losing their hold. The beliefs that used to govern your identity are crumbling. The illusion is dying and the real is being born, but birth requires pain and this world is contracting. The shaking you see in the world is not chaos, it is labor. The old is making way for the new. The illusions of safety, success, and separation are being shattered so that the truth of oneness, power, and purpose can be seen. You may feel like everything is falling apart, but in reality, everything false is being removed. The shadow is being peeled back, layer by layer, exposing the true earth beneath it. This is why the chosen ones cannot panic when the world screams. You must not respond to appearances. You must live from the deeper knowing, the place within that has always whispered, "This is not the end, it's the unveiling." The end of the world is not destruction, it is exposure. The world is not being erased. It is being redefined, recalibrated, recreated by those who no longer serve the illusion. This is the call to live from the unseen, to believe not what you see, but what you know. Faith is not wishful thinking, it is spiritual sight. It is the power to hold on to truth even when the facts scream otherwise. You are not crazy, you are not delusional, you are simply tuned into a frequency that others have forgotten. You are seeing the blueprint while others argue over the broken model. You are hearing the music while others fight over the silence, and make no mistake, the unseen is more real than the seen. The seen is temporary, the unseen is eternal. The world calls what is visible reality, but the chosen know better. Reality begins within. It is formed in consciousness, given shape through imagination, and birthed through faith. What you hold inside, you will one day hold in your hand, and this is why God is not asking you to escape the world. He is asking you to transform it from the inside out. To do that, you must stop feeding the shadow, stop agreeing with limitation, stop speaking from fear, stop imagining defeat. The more you participate in the illusion, the longer it lingers. But the moment you rise in consciousness, truly rise, everything around you must realign. The matrix only survives because of belief. Withdraw your belief and you break its spell. The chosen are spell breakers. They walk through the same earth, but they carry different eyes, different speech, different power, and the earth itself begins to respond. The new earth is already here. It's just invisible to those still drunk on the old. But for those who have eyes to see, it is unfolding moment by moment. It looks like peace in the middle of a storm. It feels like clarity in the midst of noise. It moves with grace, not striving. It trusts the unseen, not the headlines. It speaks truth even when surrounded by lies. It radiates joy that cannot be explained by circumstance. You were born for this unveiling. You were marked to carry the frequency of the real into the halls of the false. Your very presence is disruptive, not because you're loud, but because you're light. You cannot help but expose the illusion by simply existing in truth. That's why some will reject you. That's why the old world may try to silence you. But fear not. You do not belong to the shadow. You belong to the light, and the light cannot be defeated. So what is coming is not new. It is ancient, eternal. It has always been here, waiting to be recognized. The earth is not ending. It is remembering, and the chosen are the vessels through which this remembrance takes form. The earth you know is a shadow, but the real is rising. And you, chosen one, are rising with it. Why the chosen ones must separate, not from people, but from programming. Separation is not about superiority. It is about alignment. The call to come out from among them is not a command to abandon humanity. It is an invitation to escape the systems that blind it. The chosen ones are not here to isolate in fear, but to liberate through consciousness. And to do that, they must first separate, not from people, but from the programming that has held people captive for generations. This world teaches sameness. It celebrates conformity. It rewards compliance. From childhood, you were taught what to think, what to believe, what to fear, what to desire. You were handed scripts and told to memorize them. You were given a costume and expected to perform, but deep within, something never fit. There was a voice inside that refused to be silenced. It questioned what others accepted. It resisted what others obeyed. It wasn't rebellion. It was remembrance. You see, the programming of this world is subtle but powerful. It hides in culture. It disguises itself as tradition. It cloaks itself in religion, politics, education. It speaks through media, peers, family, even your own inner critic. It says, this is how things are. This is who you are. Don't ask questions. Don't look deeper. But the chosen cannot remain under the spell, because you were never meant to be part of the system. You were sent to reveal the truth of the system, and ultimately to transcend it. That is why separation is necessary. Not to escape the world, but to escape the illusion of it. Not to run from people, but to release the identity that was formed by false programming. You must separate from the narratives that tell you you're powerless. From the beliefs that insist you're limited, from the fear that paralyzes you, from the shame that silences you, from the mental habits that keep recreating the same painful patterns. Separation is not about physical distance. You can be surrounded by people and still be set apart. True separation happens in the realm of thought, perception, and vibration. It means you no longer agree with the lie. You no longer serve the illusion. You no longer eat from the table of fear. You no longer participate in your own imprisonment. You choose to live from a higher place, even when it costs you comfort, approval, or belonging, and yes, it will cost you. Awakening always does. When you separate from programming, you disrupt the matrix that others still trust. They may call you arrogant, delusional, strange. They may accuse you of abandoning them, but what you are really abandoning is the lie that has kept you both small. You are not rejecting people. You are rejecting the systems that program them, and by freeing yourself, you give them permission to do the same. This separation is sacred. It is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot free what you are still entangled with. You cannot heal what you are still agreeing with. You cannot rise while carrying the chains of others' expectations. The chosen must go first. You must walk out of the cave before you can lead others into the light. And the walk is lonely, but it is not without purpose. God is not separating you to punish you. He is separating you to prepare you. There is a frequency you must carry that cannot be forged in the crowd. There is a clarity you must receive that cannot be downloaded while immersed in noise. There is a voice you must hear that only speaks in stillness. You cannot hear divine truth while tuned to the static of collective programming. You must tune out to tune in. This is why your life has felt like a constant shedding. Every time you tried to settle, it unraveled. Every time you tried to belong, you were pushed out. Every time you tried to stay small, something within you refuse. Because you were never meant to fit into a broken mold, you were designed to break it. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected, not cast aside, but carved out, set apart, sanctified. In this time of global transition, the chosen ones are undergoing a spiritual quarantine, not from disease but from distortion. You are being pulled away from everything that dulled your vision and distorted your identity. You are being cleansed of the need for external validation, stripped of roles, masks, and performances. You are being returned to your original blueprint, the divine design untouched by programming. But make no mistake, separation is not retreat. It is activation. You are not pulling away to escape, but to evolve, to remember, to rise. And when you return to the world, you do so with new eyes, new power, new purpose. You return not as a slave to the system, but as a liberator from it. You carry light into dark places, not because you argue with the dark, but because your presence makes it impossible to remain. This is the mystery of the chosen. You are both within and beyond, in the world, but not of it. You walk among the programmed, but you no longer speak their language. You speak truth, not fear. You radiate love, not lack. You move with vision, not reaction. And without saying a word, you expose the lie. You were chosen for this, not because you are better, but because you were willing to let go of what others cling to, willing to walk away from what others chase, willing to trust the invisible while surrounded by the tangible. Willing to die to your old self so that the real you could emerge, so separate, not with bitterness but with boldness, not with fear but with faith. Separate not to elevate yourself, but to awaken to your true self. Separate not to leave people behind, but to walk ahead and make a path. You are not abandoning the world. You are helping it transform by refusing to be shaped by its illusions. The programming is deep, but the truth is deeper, and once you've touched that truth, you cannot go back to pretending. You cannot go back to sleeping. You cannot go back to silence. You must separate. You must rise. You must remember. Because this world is passing away, and those who remain attached to its programming will pass with it, but you were chosen to be in the world but untouched by it, to see through it and speak beyond it, to separate from the lie so that you can embody the truth. And in doing so, you become the evidence that the real has come, that the shadow is fading, that the vanishing is near, that the kingdom is rising. The vanishing, when God removes you without warning, the vanishing is not fantasy. It is not the product of a wild imagination. It is real, profoundly real, but few understand its nature. To the world it appears as disappearance. To the spirit it is ascension, and to the chosen it is fulfillment. When God removes you, it will not come with an announcement, a trumpet, or the applause of men. It will be quiet, sudden, divine. Without warning, you will no longer be where you were, and those who once knew you will search for the old you, but find only echoes. This removal is not random, it is purposeful. God removes whom he has refined. He withdraws whom he has prepared. The vanishing is not punishment, it is reward. It is what happens when your soul has completed its assignment in a dimension, when you have shed enough illusion, when your frequency no longer matches the environment that once held you. You outgrow the classroom, and so you are called into a higher realm. You disappear not into nowhere, but into destiny. Many are looking for a physical event, a rapture of the body, but what they do not see is that the vanishing begins within. It is first a rapture of the mind, a transformation of perception, a relocation of awareness. You begin to lose interest in the things that once captivated you. You stop reacting to the same triggers. You no longer find nourishment in gossip, comparison, or fear. You begin to crave solitude, truth, depth. You disappear mentally before you ever disappear physically, and because of that, people begin to lose access to you. They still see you, but they can't touch your essence. They can't draw you back into their drama. They can't guilt you into old roles. They can't summon the version of you that once needed their approval. You're still present, but you're no longer participating. You've vanished from the lower frequency, even if your body remains in the same space. You are walking in another realm, one invisible to those who refuse to rise. This is why some friendships end abruptly, why certain doors close without explanation, why the places that once welcomed you now feel foreign. It's not because something's wrong, it's because your time there has expired. When God removes you, he doesn't always send notice. He simply shifts the atmosphere. He severs the connection. He dries up the river. He causes you to lose taste for what once filled you, and if you obey the signal, you rise. But if you resist, you suffer. Do not mourn what God removes. Do not grieve over the fading. The vanishing is holy. It is sacred. It is proof that your journey is ascending, that your soul is no longer anchored in the shadows of limitation. God removes you when he can no longer allow your light to be dimmed by surroundings that refuse to change. He pulls you out so that you may preserve the fire. He hides you so that you may be revealed in the fullness of time. And yet, to others, it looks like abandonment. They will say, "You've changed." They will call you distant, removed, even cold. But what they cannot understand is that you are being called upward. You are being lifted out of the storm before the collapse. You are being protected from the fall of systems. What looks like loss is actually preservation. What looks like ending is actually escape. God never removes you for no reason. He always removes you before he releases you. The chosen ones must come to peace with this mystery. You must no longer seek to be understood. You must no longer explain your shift to those who are still bound to the old frequency. The vanishing is not for everyone. It is for those who have completed the cycle. Those who have passed the test. Those who have died to self and awakened to truth. The moment you no longer need the world's confirmation, God begins to move you beyond its reach. You begin to rise beyond titles, roles, and expectations. You lose the compulsion to perform. You find rest in simply being. You stop fighting to fit in. You stop apologizing for evolving. You no longer shrink to stay relatable. You embrace the stillness of separation and the quiet joy of alignment. And in that space, hidden, unseen, misunderstood, you are closest to God. The vanishing also protects the chosen from unnecessary war. You will no longer be placed where your voice must be constantly defended. You will no longer be sent where your light must battle to stay lit. God is relocating his people, not just to new physical spaces, but into dimensions where they can thrive, where they can be poured into, where they are no longer watering deserts that refuse to bloom. You are being released from the obligation to stay loyal to what no longer feeds your soul. And here is the paradox. Those who vanish will be seen again, but not as they were. They will reappear, transformed, clothed in power, positioned in purpose. They will be reintroduced in a new realm among new people, with new language and new authority. They will no longer speak to prove, they will speak to create. No longer act to please, they will act to shift. No longer live to survive, they will live to reign. You were never meant to stay in the old place forever. You were always meant to pass through, to learn, to awaken, and then to transcend. The vanishing is part of the design. It is how God preserves the sacred. You are hidden not because you are unworthy, but because you are priceless. You are removed not because you are rejected, but because you are ready. And so, chosen one, when God removes you without warning, do not resist. Do not cling to the familiar. Do not cry for what you've outgrown. Step into the unknown with confidence. Let the world say what it will. Let them wonder where you went. Let them search for the version of you that no longer exists. You do not owe them your presence. You owe God your obedience. You are not lost. You are not forsaken. You have been lifted. What they call vanishing, heaven calls ascending. What they call escape, heaven calls elevation. You have simply been caught up into the realm where your true self resides. You have vanished from the world, yes. But you have appeared before the throne, and from there you will return in power to change forever.